In this video, I'll be guiding you through the process of creating your own custom painterly preset in Lightroom. We'll go step by step to build a soft, dreamy, painterly look using a series of thoughtful adjustments. And once we've crafted the perfect style, I'll show you how to save it as a preset so you can easily apply it to your future edits. Okay, so we're jumping straight into Lightroom here now, and we've got 3 photos here that I'm going to be working with. 1, 2, 3, and we're going to start with this one first to set up through our developer modules to create our painterly preset. Now we're going to start with our profile here in the basic panel. For a good painterly preset, you want Adobe Neutral. It's a good starting block. We're also going to set white balance at auto, make it look quite nice and natural. And the next thing we're going to do, we're going to work through these in order. So let's see how they go through order. Exposure. Lots of these can be set in different ways, but exposure, you can either click and drag on there like so. Double click to set to 0. You can also click and drag in the numbers box, or something quite a few people possibly don't know as well, you can also click and drag within your graph up here as well, and you can adjust your exposure through there. So that's quite nice, just a little bit higher. There we are, 0.18. So contrast, it depends on your photo, obviously, as with most adjustments. You can soften it up by going lower, or you can add a little bit more detail and depth. I've got a bit of fog in here, so I'm going to add a bit of detail and depth into that one. Not a lot though, ever so slightly. Not go crazy on this. Highlights. Next, we're going to drop the highlights quite a bit. So we're going to go about halfway down into the negative section of the slider, which is about there, maybe a little bit more. Quite nice. Shadows. We want to lift our shadows because we want to get detail out of them, and we don't want the darks to be too dark. So we're going to be about halfway up into the positive section as well. For the whites, we would like to just boost them slightly. Let's go maybe +10. Again, don't be afraid to just give it a bit of a wiggle and see what's going on here with each slider. So we're going to go up slightly there to boost those whites a little dab. And then our blacks, we don't want too much black going on here, so we're going to boost the blacks as well a little bit to bring out some of those shadows. Nice. And when it comes to texture, we want to drop the texture a little bit just to smooth things out and give it a little bit of a painterly sort of feel. So we're going to drop the texture ever such a smidge. Clarity, roughly the same sort of idea. I'm going to soften that up a little bit by dropping that down to about there. And then dehaze. Dehaze is dependent on your photo. So if you've got a lot of fog, you might want to enhance the detail that's in the fog, or if you want to enhance the fog, you go the other way. So we'll go through that a little bit more simply now. So that way, add more fog left, negative, bring out detail, go to the right. So I've got quite a bit of fog going on here. So I may, I think I'm going to just go up a little bit on the dehaze. So remove some of the fog because I've got quite a bit going on there anyway. So that's quite nice. So at any time that you want to see what your adjustments were like beforehand, just click on the little eye piece there and deselect it, and you can turn it on and off to see how far your edits have come so far. So that's the basic panel done. Next, we'll move on to a tone curve. With tone curve, it's very simple. As with most, it's going to be a basic S curve, but we also want to lift our blacks. Make sure you're selected on this one here. We don't want to be using the red channel, the green channel, or the blue channel. We want to use the point curve. Raise your blacks out. No definitive black in this photo now, so just ever so slightly raise it up off there, and bring down the midtones a little bit, the very slight curve, and then increase your highlights with a little. So this was a very gentle S curve. Again, you could turn that on and off with your little eye stopper there to see what we're doing. So that's the tone curve done out of the way. Great. Next, it's our color mixer. So in our color mixer, we've got hue, saturation, and luminance. So we're going to be working on hue first, and we're primarily going to be working with our greens, yellows, and bits of oranges. So in our hue, we're going to take our greens and we're going to add a bit of warmth to them, and we're going to take them down to the yellow a little bit more. So we're just going to drop that down a little bit there. Again, don't be afraid to have a look, see what they're doing when you bump them. I mean, look at that view right there. Looks stupid. So we're going to jump that down a little bit. So our greens want to be a little bit more yellowy, and our yellows slightly towards the orange ever so slightly. So just drop them about the same. The subtle differences here may not even be noticed bit by bit. But when you start adding in your saturation and luminance, it can start making a bit more of an effect. So saturation. Our greens, we want to reduce our greens a little bit. We want to soften them up ever so slightly again. Maybe just down -10. And then what we want to do is increase our yellows and oranges to maybe a little bit of the opposite. So we got yellows here, +10. Just ever so slightly. Get that nice warm feeling going on there. So we can turn that on and off. And again, there's slight changes going on, but you can see what's happening, particularly with these ferns down here. It's really quite nice. So luminance, right. Greens, we want to bring our greens down from being so bright. So we're going to, again, just drop them down ever so slightly as well. And what we're going to do is bring our yellows up just to make the sections pop just a little bit as well. So that'll do it. Yeah, that's quite nice. So off and on, and you can sort of see quite a bit going on there. It's made it more autumnal, and already that painterly feel is starting to burn in a bit as well. So after our color mixer, we go into color grading. Now we're going to be doing a split tone color grading here. We're going to work with our highlights and our shadows. So if we click on our highlights here, so for our highlights, we want to add a nice warming orange glow. So not too much, just off there. We can type the numbers in here as well, and we can drag on the numbers here. So I think our hue, our saturation, just a little bit more. Sometimes it's easier to click on these, because if you do, you can move that in and out straight there. So we're just going to, not too much, ever such a soft tinge. So turn that on and off, so it's slight. It's got a golden tinge going on there. Do you want it a little bit more warm, maybe? A bit more towards the oranges, I think. Nice. And for our shadows, we're going to go to the opposite side of the color wheel, into the blue sections, which is going to be around there. Maybe a little bit more saturation on those shadows. So you should be able to see the blue starting to creep into the shadows. We turn that off. Yeah, it's quite an obvious tone there, but I think that looks really, really nice. So if you click on this section here, the three-way section, we want to adjust the balance so it's in favor of the shadows ever so slightly. So it's not too orange up the top. Nice. I like that. Yes, I do like that. That's nice. Right. The color grading done. Detail, we're not going to bother with. Lens correction, we're not going to bother with. It's quite preferential. You can sometimes, if you go to these bright sections, you can see some chromatic aberration going on. If we can turn that off there, then you can see all the orange fringing. You'll get orange and purple fringing. Sometimes green is particularly prominent around this section. Quite good here. Oop. If we look into this, you've got a green fringe and an orange fringe. We'll turn that on there and it gets rid of it. Not essential. Transform, it's purely up to you whether you want to transform. You can make things straight there. I quite like the photos it is, so we're going to leave that one as it is. Lens blur, we're not interested in. Effects. So we want to add a slight vignette to this. Now, with the vignette, you can go for a bright white one or bring it all the way down to a dark black. We want a very subtle vignette going on here. Is that good? That looks quite nice. Good way with the vignette to turn it on and off to see how much of an adjustment it's making. I think that's pretty good. Maybe a little bit less. Because you want to draw that eye in, but you don't want it to be looking at the vignette. So it's almost like it's there, but it's not there. So that's that done. Grain, we'll add a bit of grain. Just to add a little bit of a canvasy or film feel to it. When I say canvas, I mean like a painter's canvas as well. So not too much, just add a little bit in there as well, just to make it look a little bit better. Nice. Okay. Turn that on and off. Looks very, very good. Right. So in our calibration section here, we've got red, blue, and green channels. So we're going to start with our reds. We're going to drop the hue of the red down slightly as well. Nice. Just take that little edge off a little bit as well. But we are going to boost the saturation slightly as well, just to, so it's not as red, but then we're going to make it a little bit more vibrant. Good. Right. Greens. Boost the greens a little bit as well. There we go. Nice. But we want them to look less garish. So we're going to take off the saturation as well. If you look down here, you can see a lot more what's happening. I haven't denoised this as well, but we can do that another time. That's not a problem at all. And our blue channel, we're going to drop the blues a little bit as well. like so, and then just boost the richness and saturation of those blues a power. And there you have it. That is a very quick way of doing your own painterly sort of effect. Now, if you want to save this as a preset, you click on this plus add here, add new presets, create preset. So preset name is going to be painterly base. I'm going to call it base because we're going to use it as a base for further photos that we can apply it to. So click on new group, and it's going to be called my presets. Press create. So we need to make sure all of the ticks are made here that are required, and that's correct. So press create. Over here now in my presets, you have your painterly base. Now, if you want to look what this looks like before and after, click on this little YY section here, and you can see that on the left we've got the before view, and on the right we've got the after view, and it really is quite a big difference. I quite like that. Now, if we go back to our library, we can look at our other two photos as well. Click on the grid there. So we've got another nice misty painting here, painting photo here, that if we go into our develop utility, we can click on painterly base. And as you can see, it's applied that painterly base. So we'll take this off a second here now. Once you've selected your profile, you can change how strong you want that to actually affect the photo. So that's quite nice. So it looks really quite painterly as well, that one does. And you can still go in and change everything afterwards without affecting anything. So you can go in and you can do your crops. You can go in and change your balance there. You can go and change it, your profile, anything you want. It's really, the world is your oyster. Make your photos for you. So if we go back into our library now, you don't even have to just use it on misty autumnal days. This is a photo from in the summer. You can see everything's quite bright and almost quite harsh. If we go into our develop module, we've got our painterly base profile here. If we click on that, you can see that it alters it to make it a little bit more pleasing to the eye as well. Not a one-click solution to fix your photos or anything like that, but it's a good way of creating a nice painterly effect in Photoshop, particularly for photos like this. In Lightroom, sorry, not Photoshop. You can take this into Photoshop and start doing things by all means, but this is a good solid base to get yourselves going. Anyway, I hope you've liked this video. If you do, please leave a like, a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you very much.